Word of warning, this video was originally supposed to be about every generation up until this point, but I ended up scripting over 2,000 words on just this one generation, so that didn't happen. The new plan is to break up these ideas into multiple videos about once per month. If you like this one, of course. So if you do, click the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, but again, only if you do like this video. Let's get started. Pokemon Let's Go is right around the corner. Some people love what they see and can't wait to play what Game Freak has to offer. Some people hate it and wish it never happened. It's basically a bitter war between two opposing sides. The latter side is a bunch of big stupid idiots that doesn't want anything new into their lives. Another side has a pretty cool YouTube channel, I don't know, maybe that you're watching right now. Even with that duality of thought from the only two types of people on this planet, there's one thing that everyone could agree on. We can't wait to see what the 2019 Pokemon game has in store. As I often do, I thought it would be fun to look at past games in the Pokemon series to maybe get an idea of what they have all done right, wrong, or somewhere in between that Generation 8 can learn from, and maybe even take further. The most organized way I thought to do this is to pick one standout feature, or two, or three, from each generation, explain why I think that feature is noteworthy, and then go into how I think that feature can be tweaked, enhanced, or changed in some way to work best in the newest game. So not quite list video, but it does have distinct segments. Cool? Cool. Also, when I say generation, I mean the whole generation, not just one region that the generation started with. For instance, yes, Johto is Gen 2, but it is also Gen 4 because there's Gen 4 remakes. Got it? Got it. Generation 1 is a stranger beast. A lot of people love it, a lot of those people love it exclusively, and a lot of people hate it largely because of those people that love it above all else. I think there's merit to both views. I love Gen 1. As a 90s kid, it was a major part of my childhood, and it is easily the most memorable generation in the series. It started it all and all of that good and dear stuff. That's something no other generation can take away from it. That said, it ain't perfect. Honestly, I'd say it's more flawed than it is good. So much so that I would say that no one individual feature is worthy of being implemented elsewhere that hasn't already been fleshed out and improved on in past games. It's more of a top-down philosophy thing that I think Gen 1 has to offer. Largely because a lot of Gen 1's flaws have already been fleshed out and improved upon by way of other gens. So it's tricky to pinpoint one major concrete thing that Gen 8 could take from Gen 1 that hasn't largely become a staple in every other game after being fleshed out there. The major thing I'd say is an iconic part of Gen 1 that other gens haven't followed outside of literally replicating it is the design philosophy. There's two things I think this should and could mean for Gen 8. The first of which being having a focus on Pokemon that have simpler designs. The natural thing for a lot of people to do is to think as the series evolves, the only way to improve on the character designs is to complicate them, but I'd say that's a bad move. Not entirely, of course. Having a few over-designed Pokemon here and there is welcome. A lot of Gen 4 falls under this idea, but the pitfall with that philosophy is it's a lot harder to make those more complicated designs memorable to anyone but superfans. This becomes apparent with the silhouettes of Pokemon. They used to all have stampable silhouettes to the point where Who's That Pokemon was a thing, a very iconic thing at that. But after a while, it became a lot less feasible. And of course, you could argue that's due to the sheer amount of Pokemon now, but I'd say it has at least in part something to do with the fact that a lot of newer Pokemon don't have as memorable a design as the first batch, maybe first two batches do. I do want to stress that I'm not a Gen 1er that thinks every new Pokemon design is bad. I don't particularly think any Pokemon designs are bad, per se. They just have a different aim than the first two batches did. I think the newest group of Pokemon should return to that approach. The second level is less likely, but just as interesting nonetheless, in my opinion, of course. I'd love for the art style to be based on Ken Sugimori's original artwork for the series. I originally said I'd love for an anime-esque Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 4 like aesthetic, and I'd still be hyped to see that, but I'd be equally, if not more excited to see this. It's an easy style on the hardware that could be scaled down for handheld mode and still look great. It's true to the series, and it would have a unique combination of freshness and nostalgia. Never have we seen a style like this used in Pokemon mainline gameplay, so it would feel new in that way, but it is also familiar to classic fans of the series. I know some more die-hard Pokemon fans hate this comparison, but it must be said, Breath of the Wild proves that painterly art styles can look incredible on Switch, and they're a pretty natural fit for Pokemon if you ask me. Of course, there are weirdos that are somehow anti-anime fans and also somehow Pokemon fans and want a hyper-realistic style. I think that's not going to happen, but that's bordering on a different video, so I'm not really going to go deep into why. The long and short of this is Gen 1 contributed a lot, obviously, but I think the most important contribution that hasn't been baked into other games is the design philosophy. Gen 2, just like Gen 1, introduced a lot of things that aren't really distinct Gen 2 things anymore. They've been fleshed out and improved upon later on in the series. Berries, breeding, time, weather are some of the things that were introduced in Gen 2, but were later improved upon as we moved on. So I don't think those contributions are noteworthy in the context of this video. Some things that are though is 1, trainer rematches, and 2, a second region. Trainer rematches being the thing that I want to touch on first. Not for any real particular reason, just because it's the one that I mentioned first. Look, not every transition can have some type of intellectual reason for it. Sometimes you just gotta move a script along by any means necessary. Trainer rematches are a pretty big way to keep the game from becoming monotonous because they help you train, but not in a grind-heavy way. And on some level, they introduce a bit of a sense that the world is alive and that people in it are improving their skills just like you are. With that said, there's a lot of imagination required on the player's part to really believe that, because at the end of the day, those trainers still stay put wherever you found them, and they don't do much in the way of improvements outside of their Pokemon's level. That's to be expected for a Game Boy game, but on Switch, I think it would be fair to expect a deeper approach to this mechanic. NPCs should have stuff to do, places to go, and something to show for it. They should train their Pokemon with their past defeat in mind. If I beat them after they did nothing but spam growl, they should be more aggressive the next time around. Maybe add diversity to their team by way of a better type balance. Even if you're a bug catcher, you can throw a Heracross on your team to add more type coverage. And if they really want to go deep, they could have these characters slightly change their outfits, or maybe have some other sort of aesthetic change after a long enough passage in time. Youngster Joey should grow at least 5 inches before I rematch him again. Some of these trainers could even grow to become de facto rivals. Make NPCs work similarly to how the Mordor series of games handle what they call the Nemesis system. NPCs should grow stronger, as I said, maybe even band together with other NPCs to help make up for their flaws for double battle rematches. Some NPCs could eventually give up and take up more of an ally role. Others could maybe even grow to hate you enough to become part of the antagonist team in Gen 8. Something I think could even be a theme of that team and a sub-theme of the game overall. Unity amongst trainers, or at least the relationships between trainers. Adding Gen 1 into Gen 2 was a great way to one-up the first batch of games, and to drive home the importance of this even more, it was one of the most notable things that the late great Satoru Iwata has contributed to gaming. It's for this reason that I believe Gen 8 should do something similar, and there's 2 ways in my mind that you can go about doing this. I'll name these in order of what I think is most reasonable. The first way to go about adding another region would be to use a lot of the work done on Pokemon Let's Go and include Kanto. This would admittedly be a bit disappointing. I love Kanto, but I don't need another trip to Kanto to be that soon. There's reason enough to do it though. We don't have the typical Pokemon formula to a T in Let's Go. This would allow for a new journey in Kanto with the modern core experience completely intact. Again, I don't necessarily want this, but I can see it happening. The second reason that I know is completely unreasonable and unexpected would be to design 2 regions side by side. Maybe with the second being less of a full-fledged Pokemon region with 8 gym battles and the whole shebang, make this secondary region more like the Sevi Islands or the Orange Islands, preferably The latter, because it would be a good excuse to shake up how the game is played by way of 4 mini gyms with different objectives than just battling the gym leader for a badge. None of these things are features I think will happen beyond a shadow of a doubt. In fact, I doubt most of them will happen. But this channel is about discussion and speculation, but like in a fun way. We don't claim to be analysts, so why act like we are? We of course base most of our ideas on some semblance of reality, but at the end of the day, let's just throw cool ideas at the wall. With that said, like the disclaimer says at the beginning of the video, I thought of way too many ideas for Gen 1 and Gen 2 to fit the rest of the generations into this video. And it can only get worse or better depending on your outlook on the situation, because Gen 3 through Pokemon Let's Go has a lot more things I think we could use in the future. But those are my thoughts. What do you think? What Gen 1 and Gen 2 ideas do you think Game Freak should implement into Pokemon Generation 8? Let me know that and more in the comments. Share this video with a friend who's also excited to play Pokemon Generation 8, or maybe Pokemon Let's Go, or maybe just likes talking about Pokemon. And if you like the discussion, like the video and subscribe to the channel and ring the bell for more videos like this every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Check out our website, that also has cool stuff, and our podcast every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time here on YouTube and other podcast services. Okay, that's it for me. See you next week.